25th, a powerful typhoon struck the coast of China. The city of Shanghai and Zhejiang province were most affected. The Shanghai authorities have evacuated more than 300,000 people. The movement of metro lines and high-speed trains was stopped, electricity was cut off in some places, and the embankment of the Bund was blocked. Local authorities require people to stay at home, not go outside or go to the banks of a river or sea. Shanghai airports as well as Hangzhou Airport also cancelled all flights the next day. The country's meteorological service predicts that the typhoon may remain in eastern China for a long time, with strong winds and rains in many cities.
With extreme flash floods after unprecedented rainfall. And now, neighbouring countries are helping with what are search and rescue operations.
Although the Devastation Power Group has yet to release a public statement on the event, no injuries or fatalities are thought to have happened in the facility, according to local statistics quoted by
我外面发的视频，要不要对面见你？让他们看一下。外面大水忙过了，就往回游水过了。这个大哥。
Burst their banks, flooding into streets and interrupting train services. Footage circulating online shows subway commuters trapped inside a train. A UNESCO World Heritage Site with millennia-old sculptures. Elsewhere in the province, floodwaters burst through
哎呀，我的天哪！哎呀，有个小孩子，一个孩子，一个父亲。
Yalta today looks more like a Japanese city after the tsunami. Yalta today. Lomonosov, ambulance substation, washed away the road to... The Yalta authorities have decided to turn off the water supply, asking residents to stock up on water. People ask for help. The second day it pours incessantly. I never really remember that. Break for 5. In Yalta, due to hours of rain, the Devastation River overflowed the banks. Water flooded all crossings. Some houses were flooded. Heavy showers continue in Crimea. On June 17, due to the fall of a month and a half rainfall, Kerch flooded. An emergency regime was introduced in On the night of June 18, as a result of heavy rainfall, Big Yalta was flooded. Pedestrian crossings were flooded in the city. The authorities have suspended public transport. Due to flooding of streets as a result of heavy rainfall, an emergency regime was declared. The entrance to the city was closed. Before that, on Thursday night, almost 2 monthly norms of precipitation fell in the eastern regions of Crimea. In Yalta, the crocodilarium was completely flooded. Some of the animals could not be evacuated. The weather in Yalta is improving, the rain has almost stopped. More than 135 millimeters of precipitation fell in the city. A similar situation was about 100 years. There was a flood in Kerch. An emergency regime was introduced on the peninsula.
Demonstrations of this scale against the ruling Communist Party rarely happen.
There is no other point of comparison here. This is completely unprecedented. It's a result of what we keep calling a perfect storm of factors affecting the Cuban people.
Cuba has been distraught with severe food and medicine shortages, which have gotten worse during the pandemic.
Faced off against French protesters this weekend who are angry about rules that make vaccine passports compulsory to enter many public places.
state is growing rapidly. Firefighters are battling day and night to try to bring it under control, but it's spreading with such ferocity that it's making its own weather, creating huge clouds that are generating lightning strikes across the region. About a fifth of the fire's perimeter has been contained, but officials say the extreme nature of the fire, along with low humidity, is hampering efforts to quell the flames. People have been evacuated from their homes in several nearby counties. Smoke from the fire is travelling far and wide and is even reaching the neighbouring state of Oregon, where it's helping firefighters put out the country's largest blaze, known as the Bootleg Fire, south of Portland. A layer of smoke is blocking sunlight and creating cooler conditions, making it easier for firefighters to gain ground on the blaze. But the phenomenon, known as smoke shading, is unpredictable, and there are fears that high temperatures and wind gusts later in the weekend could fan the flames further. Efforts to bring this fire under control have been further complicated by an outbreak of COVID-19 among firefighters. Those who've tested positive are isolating and are said to be exhibiting mild symptoms. With a long, hot summer still ahead, these fires will challenge much of the western United States for many weeks to come. Peter Bowes, BBC News, Los Angeles.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. Thousands of British Columbians remain out of their homes this weekend as fires rage throughout the province's interior, and the forecast is not looking good as far as fire conditions are concerned, with temperatures expected to climb into the mid-30s through the end of next week. More than 3,300 firefighters are battling the blazes, and today more help arrived all the way from Mexico. A crew of around 100 firefighters touched down this afternoon in BC, heading to the wildfire front lines after undergoing COVID-19 testing. There are now more than 260 wildfires burning in the province, and around 39 of those are of particular concern, considered highly visible or posing a potential threat to public safety. All told, fires have burned more than 376,000 hectares of land in BC so far this season. That's more than the entire 2020 fire season, when 347,000 hectares burned. Some of the worst wildfires can now be found in the southeastern part of the province, including an out-of-control blaze near the town of Oliver. And that's where we find Global's Lauren Pullen right now. Lauren, so how's the situation looking from there?
Jeff, it's been another exhausting day on the fire line here. Crews throwing everything they have at it. We have seen helicopters and heard them going non-stop, dropping water load after water load on this fire. Still, though, more people were forced to flee their homes today. We are on the edge of that evacuation order zone near Oliver, BC right now, where the Inchmead Creek wildfire is now threatening even more properties. The fire is still burning out of control, with flames now moving north, and we do know that, again, more homes, cabins and properties, along with places at a local ski resort, Mount Baldy, have been evacuated this afternoon. Officials tell me this fire is growing, but because there is so much smoke, firefighters can't actually map out how much it has spread. There is some good news, though, in this firefight in the south near Soyuz. 40 homeowners, along with the Spirit Ridge Resort, a cultural center, and a nearby winery, have all been allowed back after several days being out of their homes. No doubt breathing an incredible sigh of relief. Still, well over 850 property owners are still forced out of their homes right now.
It was a traumatic situation for our members that were pulled from their homes and were able to grab just a few things they needed. And we, from our end, it was a scramble at that time, and a ton of people within the Soyuz community, just residents, stepped up, found supplies, came in to assist. It's always great to see when people just step up at a time like that and support us and help out. So that was pretty amazing.
I was prepared for it. I mean, we saw it coming with the fire. It's slowly moving that way. It was just a matter of time. Nothing we can do.
And Lauren, fire crews there must be exhausted, but as we mentioned, more backup has just arrived. So how are they expected to help?
Jeff, definitely welcoming all of the backup they can with open arms, as the crews here really have been working non-stop. And as you heard a little bit earlier, those 100 fire crews from Mexico have now landed in BC to help with this firefight, alongside crews who are already here from across Canada. And they are heading to help the fight here at the Inchmead Creek wildfire, and will actually be in action starting tomorrow.
These highly trained crews will be on hand for 30 days, working shoulder to shoulder with our wildfire service crews. We can't thank these men and women enough for heeding our call for support.
We've been working under extreme conditions with limited resources, so having extra bodies on the way is extremely important. We're extremely grateful for the support of outside agencies.
And it is support that is greatly needed right now. Jeff, there is no relief in sight. In the forecast, we are expected to hover in the mid-30s for the next several days here, so crews really do need all the help they can get. Jeff?
Lauren Pullen near Oliver, BC. Stay safe. Thanks, Lauren. And BC is far from the only province in the midst of a firefight. Wildfires are now raging across the country, fueled by hot, dry conditions. Here are the hot spots. The situation is particularly bad in the prairies. Saskatchewan is battling more than 160 active fires. There's also a large cluster in northwestern Ontario, at least 150 burning in that province today. And there are more than 130 wildfires raging in Manitoba. In fact, fire crews there are so stretched that the military is now responding to the situation in eastern Manitoba. 86 soldiers are being deployed. They will be cleaning up hot spots and patrolling the area to help free up firefighters to tackle more serious fires elsewhere in the province. The military is expected to remain on the ground in Manitoba until at least August the 10th. And it's a similar situation south of the border, with about 80 wildfires raging out of control across the western United States. More than 500,000 hectares are already burned, with no relief in sight. As Jennifer Johnson reports, firefighters are struggling to contain the flames, while some have also been sidelined by the pandemic.
Hair-raising video as California firefighters drive through burning embers to get to homes threatened by the Tamarack fire. That blaze has crossed into Nevada. Homeowners have been told to get out.
There's a mountain right behind my house, and the fire was coming right down.
In many communities, homes have become piles of ash. With winds picking up, the fire's path has become harder to predict.
The extreme fire behavior meant that it was definitely going to be a difficult time, and in some cases a real firefight.
Scientists blame climate change for the drought and excessive heat, creating a losing battle for firefighters.
In California and Nevada, firefighters drive through flames to protect those in the path of the erratic Tamarack wildfire.
The extreme fire behavior meant that it was definitely going to be a difficult time, and in some cases a real firefight.
The blaze now covers 58,000 acres after crossing state lines and forcing residents like Ed Hill to flee.
There's a mountain right behind my house, and the fire was coming right down.
This is the charred aftermath of the Dixie Fire near the town of Paradise, California. The mega fire sparked more evacuations today and has burned more than 140,000 acres. And in Oregon, firefighters are combating both the nation's largest wildfire and a COVID outbreak after 9 firefighters tested positive for the virus. These fires are also now creating their own weather systems, like so-called fire nados. And experts say because of climate change, we can expect more of this unpredictable behavior for years to come.
Firefighting boats pumped water onto the fire for nearly 5 hours until it was eventually extinguished.